About 2 years ago, in April of 2016, I was diagnosed with celiac disease. So once I got my endoscopy results, from then on I cut gluten completely out of my diet. I was drinking coffee quite regularly, as I always have, but I felt quite sick from drinking coffee. So, I'd have my 250ml cup of coffee, but only be able to drink like a really small amount before I just felt really sick in my gut and couldn't drink it anymore. And that was happening really regularly. I didn't really think anything of it. I guess, kind of just learned to walk with a limp as such. But one of my family members pointed out that that's not really a normal thing to do and I should go to my GP and find out what's going on. So I did. I went to my GP and she suggested that perhaps I have irritable bowel syndrome and that I should cut caffeine completely out of my diet because that would irritate my gut quite a lot with the acidity of the coffee. And so I started drinking decaf coffee and that helped a little bit, which was good. But she also took a blood test which came back to say that I had celiac disease, which was quite a surprise to me. So my husband is the main cook of the house, and I guess from learning a bit from the Celiac Society, we learnt that it would be really helpful to just move everything that's glutinous out of the cupboard and just have a completely gluten-free pantry, including sauces and everything like that. Because before we did that, we'd be eating something and then all of a sudden realise that we just put soy sauce on our food that had gluten in it, which it was frustrating, and so we realised it would just be really helpful just to completely segregate anything that had wheat or barley, rye or oats in it, to move it away from all the gluten-free things in the house. So that really helped. And we basically have a gluten-free diet at home. My husband only has glutinous Weet-Bix in the morning, and so everything else I don't even think about it at home. I don't need to worry about cross-contamination with cooking, with boards or anything like that. But going out, it's really hard. Going to people's places can get quite tricky. And eating out, it's pretty hard. So with celiac disease, what a lot of people don't know is that it's not just being gluten-free, but even the tiniest amount of gluten can damage my gut, my small intestine. And now that I'm so strict, yes, I can notice even when I have the smallest amount, and that can look like someone using the same spoon to touch something glutinous, to then me using that same spoon to get something out that's gluten-free. Or for example, if I'm at someone's house and they're serving spaghetti bolognese, if the pasta is gluten-free and the mince is gluten-free, but then the rest of everyone else is having something glutinous, like a glutinous pasta, if they use the spoon to get out the mince that's gluten-free, put it on their plate, and that spoon touches the glutinous pasta, I can't use that spoon anymore, because if I use it, then I'll feel sick. And that makes it really hard when I'm at people's places and I just feel a bit stressed and anxious about watching every little thing like that, and particularly difficult at camps. Essentially, people say that they can cater for celiacs, but in my experience, they can't. They don't understand, I guess, just how strict I need to be, which means I'm often trying to fight to be able to self-cater, which also makes it quite hard. Mostly with people's houses, if they know me well, they're quite considerate in asking me what I can eat and what I can't eat. So things like sauces, a lot of people don't realise that there's wheat and things in sauces, and so it can be helpful if they take a photo of the ingredients list and send it to me, or they ask me about whether they can use a chopping board if they've used it previously for glutinous things. So that's helpful. Where I find it really hard is when people want to go out for breakfast, for lunch or dinner, to a restaurant or a cafe. It makes it really hard, and I feel frustrated about that, and I do feel like it cuts out my social time, particularly our church has dinners out after church. It's a time of fellowship that we might go to a restaurant to have dinner all together, or it might be to bring your own dinner to someone's place. And for the most of the time, I can't participate in those dinners anymore because I can't go to those places and eat. And that's really hard. That's probably one of the hardest things about being gluten-free.